Hi, my name is Yajo and I'm from CNN as well. This question is for the Foreign Secretary. You mentioned that there are easing tensions on the South China Sea, and spokesperson Harry has also mentioned the large amounts of private investment going into the Philippines from China. I was wondering if it's fair to say that Philippines' position on China right now is prosperity first, sovereignty second.
Are you from the U.S.? No.
No.
No. I only asked because I wanted to check if if you're from the U.S., then you'd know U.S. history. The French helped the United States become an independent nation, and when the French had their revolution, they asked the Americans for help. But the Americans had to think what's best for them at that point in time, and they decided not to help the French in the French Revolution. So did America go for prosperity first before sovereignty? Or before their ideals or their principles? So each nation, whether it's China, Singapore, US, Canada, acts within its interest. And I'll ask you, what nation wants to have an argument with their neighbors? So, because if you say prosperity first before sovereignty, that means we're giving up our sovereignty. So it's the same thing. If you're saying to America, you gave up your principle so that you'll have prosperity. I don't believe. I believe that they made the decision based on the information that was there and look what was good for America at that time, and they made that decision. And we can point out to a lot of historical decisions by many countries that people might not have agreed with, but it's best for their people. So we're not giving up a single inch of our sovereignty nor sovereignty rights. Our critics, not only in the Philippines but outside, is making it appear that because there's an arbitration award, there's no more dispute. But there are two disputes. It's the territorial dispute and the dispute under UNCLOS. And what the arbitration court dealt with was the UNCLOS dispute. And there is no enforcement mechanism in the arbitration court. And President talked to our allies, our Western allies, and asked them, if we start digging for oil, drilling for oil there, will you send our ships and will you guard our ships? You know what was the answer of our Western allies? We don't get involved in issues of territorial claims. So what are we going to do? Are we going to... And it's the same thing with Malaysia and Vietnam. We have claims against them. So do we stop our relationship, or do we start fighting Vietnam and Malaysia? Do we start arguing with them in every forum available because we have a dispute regarding sovereignty? So your question is fair, and it's being asked around the world, and I get those questions whether in private meetings or in press briefings. But it's not really between prosperity and sovereignty. It's how you fight for your sovereignty and at the same time take care of your people. So the prosperity of the Filipinos coming from China is not because we gave up sovereignty, but because of how we're dealing with issues of territorial claims and sovereignty. China has not asked us, and I can tell you this very honestly, whether closed door or in open, they've never asked us to give up our claims. They've simply asked us to put some order in how we will discuss these claims and where we should discuss these claims. And you've seen how ASEAN was handled last year, and you saw our statements, and the Philippines was able to steer it quite well. And I have to give the credit to the Filipinos, you know. So I'm willing to further discuss this at other forums, but you know, we're open to ideas on how to fight for our sovereignty, territorial claims, etc. But as of now, if we compare the Aquino administration strategy and the Duterte strategy, we simply are making do with a bad situation, but we have stopped the bleeding, meaning we have stopped other claimants from getting new features. We have started discussion on the COC. We have jump-started relationship, people-to-people, cultural exchanges, educational exchanges, military to military. And let me finish with this, Yes, we want to fight for what is ours, but we don't want a war. And no one in our region wants a war because no one will win. So if you look, it's only the Philippines who are not, building up our defenses in the features we hold. Why? We'd rather spend our money on education, on health. Of course, we want an aircraft carrier, we want a submarine someday, and that's part of your national security and part of keeping your people safe, But what good is it to have the best military if your people are starving, if your people don't have jobs, if your people are forced to leave the country, and if your people are not safe, So our priorities really is building our economy and keeping our people safe.
Just one more question on a different topic. Does your government have any questions for Facebook about the apparent data breach, which affected, I think, over 1 million Filipinos?
I've answered that. No, the current finance secretary, who was treasurer of the president's campaign, said he did not pay even a single centavo to Cambridge Analytica, and that he had no transactions at all with Cambridge Analytica.
Sorry, that wasn't my question. It was just in terms of, in general, of the apparent data breach.
We have a domestic law, a Privacy Act, and we will enforce that act. Now, the data breach, as far as we know, did not occur in the Philippines. So, but we have taken steps, as you know, no less than a chairman of a constitutional commission, the constitutional of elections, has a pending case now before the prosecutor's office for breach of the Privacy Act, for not safeguarding the data of voters in the Philippines. So we take privacy very seriously in the Philippines.
Thank you.
Can I just quickly, from a regular Filipino's point of view, of course there are concerns about privacy, but on the other hand, there's also concern about the future of Facebook, because Facebook has made the Philippines much more democratic. So suddenly, if you're from, just like the internet, there's now a platform for e-commerce. There's a platform to communicate, whether you're student organizations or you're a budding social, whether you're an influencer, whether you're a event organizer. So Facebook has been a good friend to the Filipino. And there are challenges. So if your good friend told other good friends about your secrets, you have a problem with your good friend. So definitely there's a problem that of this data breach. But we're also concerned about our friend, which is Facebook. So we're eagerly monitoring and watching. And it's all over Facebook, how the leadership of Facebook is answering the U.S. Congress. And we have had, I think, 3 hearings in the Senate about fake news, and Facebook has been part of that. So on one hand, it's such a blessing, and it's created so much opportunity. On the other hand, of course, we're also concerned about privacy.
Okay, thank you. Can we have our last question?